when we're talking about in terms of just, Gears of War as a whole, and we're talking about like the community at large, the Gears community, Gears fam, there's a lot of, content creators that are creating content. And I've been reacting to a lot of this content that other creators are creating, because I think that obviously everyone's entitled to their opinion, like I said and alluded to earlier. So I want to go ahead, guys, and I want to talk about a couple of things here. This next segment of the show, I want to talk in particular about, there was a video that came out called Gears of War is the most skilled shooter ever made. And I definitely want to talk about this. This is a video that came out from a guy named Jay Bowen Daman, who is a content creator, and I definitely wanted to give him some shine here
and describe to you guys why I personally believe Gears of War is the most skilled franchise out of every first-person and third-person shooter game I have ever played. Now, obviously, this video is going to be completely opinion-based, so clearly I don't speak for everybody. So leave your opinions down in the comment section on what you think is personally the most skilled shooter game out there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have played a lot of different first-person shooters and third-person shooters. I've played all the popular titles between games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, Fortnite, Apex Legends. I played tac shooters such as Rainbow Six Siege, really hardcore tac shooters like CSGO and Valorant. I've even played some of the, more lower-end first-person and third-person shooters as well, games that aren't as popular for their multiplayer side of things, but more popular for the campaign. Things like The Last of Us and the Uncharted franchise. I used to dabble in the multiplayer experiences all the time, and I absolutely love them to death. But out of all the years of experience that I've had, and all the shooting games that I've ever played, Gears of War, to me personally, again, all opinion-based, but Gears of War, to me personally, is the most skillful, unique, and also it adds a nice casual side for people who aren't even trying to be competitive to still enjoy the overall flow of this game. Gears of War is truly a special title, not only with the casual gameplay, but also in esports, because it's more than just shooting your weapon. It's more than just having the best accuracy. Let's be honest here. In Gears of War, there's not much aiming involved anyways. The majority of the high-skilled players are going to be running around with the Gnasher shotguns. If you're using a Lancer, it's usually to, pluck down some enemies who are trying to get a power weapon or something of that sort. But very rarely is someone going to try to attack you with a Lancer. I mean, the most you'll see is someone pull out a pistol. But down to its core, everybody is running and gunning with shotguns. It's the most fast-paced, hardcore experience you'll ever find in any shooting game.
So I want to talk about this really quick. I think, he makes a really interesting point, because there's been a lot of negativity around the community talking about how like Gears of War over time has become less skill based. And I have 100%, 1000% disagreed with this notion. A lot of people saying that Gears of War 2 was the most skill-based Gears of War title ever made. In my mind, guys, and I say this, because, after playing all the Gears of War titles up to this point in time and being a passionate fan of it, I always thought that Gears of War 3 had, that was the skill gap was definitely there, and I thought it was the most skilled Gears of War title because it was very easy to play but very hard to master. Epic Games had made this title, they wanted to make it so that everybody could kind of try it and it was easy to play, like I said, but at the highest level was very difficult to master. And I feel like the Coalition took this to another level in Gears of War 4. Now Gears 5, you could argue, wasn't quite as competitive as Gears of War 4, but to me at least, Gears of War 4 was the most competitive I've ever seen a Gears title up to this point, and I give a lot of flowers to the Coalition for doing that in particular and really creating that type of environment. Gears of War, guys, is without question one of the most underrated skilled-based shooters that we've ever seen as well. I mean, and that, I think, I just think it's a very underrated title in general. When you think of this as one of the best-selling titles ever for Xbox, and you consider and you look at like the Gears esports scene has been shut down for the foreseeable future, it just tells you that we still have a niche community, but there's so many people who haven't tried Gears of War out yet or given it a chance in terms of when we talk about from skill to just playing the story and all of those different things. And so I think that there's definitely something to be said for this being the most skilled shooter ever made for sure. Even if when you go from game to game, it's a little bit different, obviously, and the skill base and the skill gaps and things of that nature are going to fluctuate from title to title. But I got to say, I agree with him in a massive way.
Call of Duty who are complaining about the ways that this game is changing, it's not fast-paced enough for you, check out Gears of War. Seriously, if you're an Xbox player or you're on PC and you're tired of that and you want a really fast-paced game, this game is literally designed for you. But as I was saying, that fast-paced, shotgun-only charm really takes away from having to aim 24/7, and it adds an emphasis on thinking. Gears of War is more than just shooting, it's a knowledge game. It's almost like playing a game of chess. It's about positioning, being able to rotate around a certain area. Shoot, you can even hold down one location, and just based on how you hold it, how you grab your cover, how you rotate through cover, how you get your right hand angles, how you position yourself, will truly decide if you're going to win or lose a gunfight 110% over just being able to initially land your shots. Now don't get me wrong, in any game out there, landing your shots is extremely important. If you're going into the competitive scene and you're expecting to use your brain to outthink some players, but you can't shoot, don't expect to play competitively. But I'm talking about casuals as well. That's why I said Gears of War is amazing not only for competitive scene, but for the casuals who want to get into this game, because they don't have to hop into a quick play and worry about getting stomped every single 5 seconds if they don't know how to shoot too well, because it really comes down to how well you can position yourself first. And as long as you're not versing the ultimate sweat lords, you can still have a good time. And even when you go into a competitive scene, it's some of the best gameplay you will ever witness in your whole life. Like I said, every single competitive esport out there has strategy. Halo, Call of Duty, shoot, even Battlefield Comp has strategy. But I think, personally, Gears of War has the best competitive play because, like I said, you get to see some of the smartest and best players truly pick apart enemies. Like I said, it's more than just being able to shoot the opponent. It's more than just having a good head glitch on a flag and being able to beam someone down real quick. You actually have to think. It takes brain power to be able to maneuver the map and maneuver your opponent successfully. A lot of these other games nowadays are completely mindless. You hop into a game of COD, there's not much thought process into it. They add so much cheese, so many, easy frags that you could possibly get that you don't really have to think. You just go. And I have nothing wrong with that. Call of Duty has its own unique taste, and that's what makes that game so popular. That's why it outsells pretty much everything in the whole world every single year, because it has a unique playstyle. But like I said, after a certain amount of time, it gets boring. And if you're not playing in a competitive scene, you'll just see tons of just absolute bullcrap deaths that will drive you completely nuts. This game right here, you will never see bullcrap deaths unless you have bad connection, bad ping, and lag is going to be the death of you. But when it comes down to pure skill, every death can be learned from. You're not going to be killed by the overpowered shotguns. You're not going to be killed by, ARs that two-tap you. You're not going to be killed by overpowered sniper rifles. You're not going to be killed by absolute beam machines of LMGs. No. Everything in this game is skill-based. If you died, it's because you did something incorrectly. And all the weapons, in my personal opinion, take skill. You can't have any stupidly overpowered weapons on your body right off the spawn. You have to fight for the power weapons, just like in any other arena shooter. So if you want to get a grenade launcher, if you want the sniper rifle, you have to actually go to those points and fight for it on the objective, forcing you and the other player to have an equal fight with equal weaponry to get the better weaponry overall. And once you go ahead and win this gunfight and pick up the special weaponry, it's not just like it's going to be easy frags, The enemies are still going to fear you because you have a power weapon, but you still have to know how to use it. You have to understand the most efficient way of using each power weapon. And if you don't, then guess what? You'll probably die and someone will end up picking it up afterwards.
So I want to talk about this really quick because I think he's making some really good points here. I mean, what I love so much about Gears, and you could even say Halo to an extent here, being more like arena shooters, where the difference between a game like Gears of War and a title like Call of Duty is Call of Duty, you can customize your weapons and all these different things, whereas with Gears of War, it's going to be a title in which everybody's starting off with the same exact weapons, and then there's going to be power weapons on the map, so there's a lot more strategy. And one of the best things that was implemented into Gears of War 4, in my personal opinion, was a game mode called Escalation. Became my favorite game mode in Gears of War. Obviously, I love Execution as well, which is kind of like that S&D type style game mode. But Escalation, I thought, really was like the best change, or the best new game mode that was added into a third-person, shooter, arena shooter. And I think that really is what makes Gears of War like such a a skilled shooter is because everybody's on the same playing field. And obviously, it's about how you strategize and all of those things. He's right when he says that it's like a game of chess. I mean, you could say Call of Duty is, Valorant, all these other titles. You could say that they're all, essentially games of chess. But Gears of War, there's something about it that really creates, because everybody is starting off with the exact same weapons, that's why, in my mind, it's definitely, without question, the most skill-based, third-person shooter. Now, a lot of people would argue Fortnite just because of the building element to it. If you're talking, building, obviously, I think that Fortnite is incredibly skill-based. I mean, there's no question in my mind. I think that it could very well definitely top Gears of War in terms of being the most skill-based third-person shooter ever. But when you start talking about titles like other shooters that are out there, like you're talking Call of Duty, Halo, games of that nature, you could put Gears of War up against any of them, and you could say there's definitely an argument to be had there.
It's fantastic because it really does add a level of skill to each and every game, and it doesn't allow anybody to be one step ahead of anybody in that lobby. There's no perk out there, there's no weapon out there, there's no pay-to-win method that will give you any advantage within Gears of War. If you suck with a shotgun, then you just have to get good with it and learn how to actually move and rotate around the map. Take your time, learn patience, learn actually how to think around your enemy instead of just finding out how to frag around your enemy. And unlike these other games, team play is truly required, but keep this in mind, even though it's required, you don't have to actually communicate in order for team play to be effective. I think that's one of the main reasons why I love Gears of War so much. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I can go into ranked matches. I don't need to talk. I don't need to say anything. You just kind of flow. You flow with your teammates. You don't really have to go into too much detail. You don't have to scream at one another. If you understand how to play Gears and your other teammates understand, you guys will just kind of synchronize together. Unlike in other games like, let's say Call of Duty or Battlefield. Battlefield's a good example. Team play is very crucial in a game like Battlefield. Yet and still, if you aren't playing with friends, if you're not playing with anybody who knows what they're doing, you're not going to get meds. You're not going to get ammo. You're not going to get anybody taking out the tanks. Nobody's going to be capturing the objectives. Nobody kind of synchronizes. Nobody comes together. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes they do, and those are the best matches, but it's not very often. It's far in between where you finally get a match like that. Especially in tac shooters like Rainbow Six Siege, CSGO, Valorant. These games you have to communicate. You can't just stay quiet. You have to let people know where they're at, where they're located, where they're pushing. There's so many different things that you have to communicate with your team in order for them to understand. So if you hop into a game of Valorant, CSGO, or Rainbow and your teammates aren't talking to you, you're probably going to lose. Gears, I have no problem whatsoever. It's just outstanding. That's how well designed this game is. It has such a heavy emphasis on team play and coordination, being able to play off of each other's bodies to overcome the opponents and, help each other take over these power weapons. It's just phenomenal, and I don't even have to say a word to anybody. And I think all of those things together truly makes Gears of War a one-of-a-kind, outstanding experience. Because like I said, there's other creative shooters out there. I love Uncharted. I love The Last of Us. Uncharted was so unique and special. A third-person shooter. You could pretty much parkour over the whole map. You can pick the weirdest and coolest positions to be able to attack and ambush your opponents. And The Last of Us adding such a cool survival aspect to a third-person shooter. I never thought a PvP game would have such a survival vibe to it, but they did it perfectly. I would love to see them do it again. But those games, despite them being very creative and unique in the shooting platform, they still require tons and tons and tons of communication. If you're playing with a team and you're playing competitively, or if you're even versing someone who is semi-competent, you're going to have trouble if you can't talk, communicate, and let people know what's going on around you, what you have picked up, what you can craft, where you're flanking. All of these factors come into play, and I think that's what helps Gears of War stand out. That, along with just the absolute gruesome, gory gameplay as well, that makes it stand out as well, baby. But Gears of War, to me personally, with all those things, has to be the best shooter out there. Third person, first person, it doesn't matter to me. This game is a mind game. It's almost like playing a game of chess mixed with a shooting game. It's just outstanding in every possible way.
Okay, so, I think that, a lot of the things, awesome video by J-Bo and Demand. You guys can check out his channel. It'll be linked in the description down below. But there's a lot of things that I think that he's definitely, like nails on the head. I'm sure a lot of huge Gears fans like myself love hearing a lot of the things that he's talking about. And, I love to be able to say that, Gears of War, in my mind, I think it's an underrated skilled shooter. I think that, is it the most skilled shooter ever? I think that you could have made an argument for it before Fortnite. I mean, Fortnite, guys, look, even though I don't play it really much anymore. I love that they brought Zero Build back and all these different things. Fortnite, whether you love it or hate it, Fortnite transcended gaming from a multitude of different perspectives, from free to play and that motto to, obviously the skill based, building element, which really is what kind of separated people from each other. The skill gap was separated by those who could build really well versus those who really couldn't. And with Gears of War, you could say that that's some of the things, that you could compare to like Fortnite would be like wall bouncing, or you could say just your skill at using your Nasher or using the power weapons and things of that nature. You could compare it slightly to something like Fortnite. I would say that Fortnite, at least in my mind right here, right now, is the most skill-based third-person shooter. Now, Gears of War is a very close second, in my opinion. I would say that Gears of War is a very much so an underrated skilled shooter. And when people try to say that there's no skill in Gears of War anymore, is laughable, in my personal opinion. Would I say that Gears 5 is as competitive and as skill-based as, say, Gears of War 4 was? No, I'm not going to say that. I think Gears of War 4 was the most skill-based Gears of War we've ever seen at this point in time, from the competitive scene, that being esports, to just playing casually with your friends and such, or by yourself. But Gears 5... it's still a title. I love Gears 5, right? I think it's absolutely, I love it. But you can just jump in there. You can play with your friends or play by yourself. And there is an element of like that chess, right? Even when you're playing something like Horde mode, you're still strategizing, and you're still, even when you're playing with your friends and such, you still can strategize. And there is a skill gap there to that. And so, to me, I love this. Gears of War to me is a incredibly skill-based shooter, and there's no debate about it. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, though, about it. Do you think it's the most skill-based? Do you think it's like top 5? What do you guys think? And its comparisons to games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, Fortnite, all these other shooters that are out there. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And for more Gears of War content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.